Recently, Senator Johnson organized hearing, and inside there were three people: Dr. Jake Scott, it was Aaron Siri, and also Toby Robson. And inside, Dr. Jake Scott said there is more than 1,700 studies, placebo group studies, about vaccine with more than 10 million people. And he said that these studies showing that vaccines are safe and effective. After that, we were hearing Aaron Siri, who was explaining that it's not really like that. But can you tell us what was in this hearing?
Yeah, that's actually an incredible moment. And, you can, if you go to my website, thehighwire.com, you can see us. We've played that many times. So I believe the number was not 1,007. I think he said he had, if memory serves, 661 studies of vaccines across the world that had placebos. And he said, so it's demonstrably false to say that the childhood vaccine program in America has never been through a placebo study. Now, what Aaron Siri, who's the attorney that I use that sued the government, he's one of the best, best minds on vaccines in the world. Frankly, I would take his opinion over almost every doctor alive because we've deposed we've had legal cases where the top scientists in the vaccine program have been on the stand, and Aaron Siri, our lawyer, proves them wrong because he's done his research. You cannot do that unless you understand what you're talking about. That's how we're winning lawsuits against the government of the United States. You don't win lawsuits by being loud. You win lawsuits by having the facts. But Aaron Siri points out, and I can't, do it verbatim, but essentially of the 660 studies that Jake Scott points out, nearly 500 of them are of vaccines that aren't in the childhood schedule in America. They're not vaccines that we use. So those are useless. And he goes through all of them. And then others never, either didn't have a placebo or were not vaccines or were not about, the issue. In the end, when Aaron broke all the categories down, not one of those 661 studies was a placebo-based study of one of the 16 vaccines that we give in 54 doses here in America. It was pure and total baloney, as we say here in America. And it's an amazing moment. Jake Scott literally says, he steps up saying, I've built a database of 661 studies that proves that vaccines have been tested against placebos. When Aaron gets done reading through all the reasons why this is not true, he says, I have a hard time believing that Aaron read all of these studies because we haven't even read them all ourselves. One of the biggest mistakes I've ever seen in debate history. It's a phenomenal moment. And then he says, maybe you should come and work for us. And Aaron says, I will, as long as I get to make the decisions. But it's an incredible moment. And so I can say this unequivocally. You cannot sue me for saying this. It is the absolute truth. There are no placebo-based trials of any of the childhood vaccines in America prior to licensure. I stake my career on that. I have built my career on that. And you are watching. There's a great video right now of a senator in Australia last week asked, what placebo studies do you have any of the vaccines? If you look that up online, I forget his name, you watch the health department just spin circles for 7 minutes because there's not one. They cannot tell you they exist.
Well, Aaron Siri was also a guest of mine here 1.5 years ago. And whoever are now watching can see what we've been discussing about similar things.